Hello, everyone, and welcome to this special interview. We've just recorded the Look Finance SEQFC preview show for the Sunshine Coast, and Mel Wilkes was one of our guests tonight. But we thought we'd have a special chat with him regarding the National Second Division. Now, you may have seen there's been a few stories floating about recently that it's up and running. There's about 30 clubs or so that have registered their interest. Bit short on detail. So we've got Mel on. We're going to have a little chat and hopefully he's going to be able to fill in some of the blanks for us. So Melvin Wilkes, Technical Director at Sunshine Coast Fire. Thank you for joining me.
No problem, Darren. How are you?
Very well, very well. Now let's talk about this National Second Division. I'm not even going to ask you a question. I'm just going to give you the floor and let's roll with it.
Okay, so this has been ongoing now since late 2016, early 2017. So this has been on the cards. Now, the way it's sort of come about this last 12 months is the changes that have been happening with the NPL, the FQPL, and things that keep changing. So the National Second Division has to happen. So there has to be promotion relegation from A-League. A-League into a National Second Division and NPL into National Second Division, which is the Championship as it's called. So that impacts with the World Cup qualification process because if they don't have that in place, then they end up going into the Oceania ranking, which causes Australia a bit of a problem. So they've not communicated with this sort of publicly with a lot of people, but that's the top and bottom of it, and that's why the National Second Division has to happen and will happen. So our club were heavily involved in this, along with other people. As I say, end of 2016, early 2017, we had the briefing documents, the financials, and it's one of the reasons why we strategically went the way we did with our senior men's team, because we wanted to prepare our football club and have the platform for us to have the foundations to have players come through. So we didn't neglect our senior men's team, but what we didn't do is do what we'd done in previous years, where the owners of our football club had basically, opened checkbook and just gone and got the best players. And, it's relatively common knowledge that, the Fire have been a strength and a force year after year. But when I came to the football club, I had a series of meetings with the owners. And I think that the last conversation we had, Darren, over a few months ago, I sort of give everybody an indication of the reason why we've done what we've done. So it's not like we've been stuffing money under the mattress and waiting for this to happen. But what we've actually been doing is investing significantly in the juniors, because you have to have, if you're going to compete at professional level, which the Championship and A-League is, you need your teams to be full-time. So that's why our juniors, our under-9s to 14s, are now full-time. And that's where all our money got redirected to. Although, Noel and the Woodall Group, as they're known, still funded the top team. So this last, what are we now, 4 months, it sort of picked up pace. So Football Queensland made some murmurs about, the National Premier League not being the pathway for juniors. That came from CEO in a public meeting in Wide Bay, which was videoed. He openly said that. So, I'm not misquoting anybody or saying anything untoward. So we knew this. So we'd already been working on this process. So we know the actual pathway is going to be the Championship and the National Youth League, which is what the A-League teams, the Melbourne Victories and the Brisbane Roars actually play in. So we're quite a way down the track now. So it's happening. I appreciate a lot of people have probably got a lot of negative comments, and that's great. There's, football's full of speculation, and you have to let people speculate. In football, it is important that we let, the media and we let the the people on forums speculate. You have to let them do that because that's healthy for the game and it creates debate. So, but when I see some of the comments, the Fire are trying to recruit this and do that. And no, we've been doing it for 3 years. We've been working on this for 3 years. All of our staff members, all of our members in the club, and even people outside the club, like, DK's had a meeting with our owners. So everybody knows where we're going and what we're doing. So it's not a massive secret. On the Sunshine Coast, virtually everybody knows what we're doing. It's only this last couple of months where the pennies dropped with everybody realising, I think the Fire have actually, people have realised, well, the Fire are actually well in front of a lot of clubs in Queensland because of the way we've done everything and the way we set everything up. So the National Second Division will be, as we speak, and I actually sit on the Capabilities Committee and help to shape that, is the youth structure, the female structure, which is girls and women. And I've seen comments to say, there's no such thing. There is, and there will be. And the Zoom meetings we've been having, the vast majority nationally, and I talk, the teams in Perth, Melbourne, Adelaide, Sydney, they're dead set adamant that female football has to start exactly the same time as the males because it's an integral part. So for the misinformed, the female program is actually happening for the second division. And it's just the process now of making sure we've got everything in place ready for when it is due to start, which is targeted for 2022.
The first question I have for you is, are you doing this with FFA backing? Are they supporting you? Are they sitting in on meetings? Are they providing any type of support?
Yes. So FFA are actually in discussions with the AAFC, the Association for Australian Football Clubs. They're the ones driving it. Now, the chairman and the secretary for the AAFC, they are the ones that are actually having meetings on a regular basis with FFA. FFA have actually asked them to produce a couple of models. So how does the National Second Division look? Is it a National Second Division where, Sunshine Coast travels to Melbourne and Sydney every second week? Or from a financial point of view, which is more, what people are leaning towards, is it more of a conference style like the American system, and then towards the latter stages of the season, then it becomes national, which is probably the model that everybody's leaning towards when we talk in the Zoom meetings. But FFA are heavily behind it and know exactly what's happening. Now, the frustrating part, not from my end, from the state end here, is the state federations are not involved. They are not involved in this process, which they're desperate to poke their nose in. Now, the AAFC and obviously FFA will consult with them, but they have no impact and no influence in this league whatsoever, which is why we want to go down this route, because there's a lot of clubs that are sick to death of the state federation and the way they keep changing the league structure. They've just brought out another, an opportunities document or whatever they call it, opportunities paper, and now they're muting three leagues, an NPL, an FQPL, and an FQPL1. Utter nonsense. Utter nonsense. So this is why a lot of people are frustrated, bearing in mind we're in the middle of a bloody pandemic, and the amount of strain there is on football clubs. People are just sick to death of it, Darren. So people want to manoeuvre away from state federations and operate directly with FFA. So, and FFA realise this as well. So they fully support what the AAFC are doing.
Tell us a little bit more about this conference structure. It sounds like that's the way that people are preferring to have the league be structured. What's it look like? So,
as we speak, the league structure is there's 6 or 7 teams in Queensland that have seriously put interest into the national second division. And when we say put serious interest in it, there has been some financial outlay that the clubs who are serious, so the 35 clubs plus that are looking to come in the league, have had to outlay some money. So that shows the intent of the teams wanting to join the league, and also the league being serious enough going to FFA and saying, well, all these clubs have strumped up X amount of $1,000 to show how serious everybody is about actually forming this league. So the 6 or 7 teams in Queensland, and it could possibly be more when the structure comes out, they will basically play each other as the NPL does as we currently speak. What will happen from that, and I'm only surmising this part, Darren, so you'll have to forgive me, is the latter stages of the season. So if our team was top of the division or bottom of the division, the top of the conference from Queensland will play the top of the conference from teams from Melbourne and Sydney, and then the bottom will play exactly the same. So there'll be a break-off. So half will play against the bottom half will play against the top half, but it will be nationally. Almost like the FFA Cup, where you play each other locally in the first early rounds, and then as you get to the latter stages, you break off into the national stages. Similar process, and it works obviously with the FFA Cup, and that's a fantastic competition. So that's a similar sort of model I would envisage that the championship will undertake.
Are there Queensland clubs outside of the southeast Queensland pocket that have registered an interest?
No, not as yet. So everybody, the teams that have submitted interest are actually NPL teams and FQPL teams, and they are the usual suspects in terms of the big clubs. So it would be remissful, obviously, for me to name them because some of them, listen, people know because they've seen the media releases, so they've seen the badges and the emblems up there. But there's actually more teams that are looking to jump on board, and they want to sort of keep their counsel at this stage because they don't want any ramification from the state federation. So Football Queensland will probably find that there's going to be a few more coming out of the NPL to join the championship.
So no interest at this stage from Townsville, Cairns, Hervey Bay, Mackay?
Not as we speak. There's been nothing muted that I picked up on. However, there could well have been conversations with the chairman of the AAFC and the secretary of the AAFC with these clubs that they possibly turned around and said, just keep it under wraps. There is clubs that have made application, but have asked for anonymity at the minute, so they don't want to be disclosed.
Okay. We've mentioned the conferences. We've mentioned that they're state-based. So I guess what I'm getting at here, Mel, is if we're trying to do something different, the clubs that have interested are all Queensland-based. So how's that any different to what we currently have? If you had clubs in Northern New South Wales, maybe Newcastle, all within the same conference, then that's something different. But how is this any different to what we currently have?
So, and this is what we're discussing, because they may well, in fact, with the conferencing, they may well, in fact, put Northern New South Wales in the conference, because obviously there's Gold Coast in there, which are right on the border anyway. So they may well, in fact, do that. And obviously, if there's teams up north, so this is what they're actually saying at the moment, which is the best model. So they may well pull some of the Northern New South Wales teams into the sort of Northern Conference, the Queensland Conference. And obviously Melbourne have got their conference and Adelaide have got their conference. But it's working out the logistics and the finances to make sure that they're not actually setting this national second division up to fail. Because as you can appreciate, and you probably well know, Darren, when you're flying teams out of Brisbane every week or every second week, you're talking anywhere between 6 and 10 grand for flights and accommodation and all the other bits and pieces, on ground transport. So that's why they're very careful on what the actual model looks like in terms of early part of the season conferencing, and then second part of the season national. So the difference between the NPL model at the moment is there will be or should be more flexibility in terms of visa players. There won't be all the red tape and the restrictions. There's 185 player point system. There's all sorts of red tape attached with the NPL. I understand and appreciate why, but it's very much loose and open for interpretation and exposure. People are exposing the loopholes in the NPL. So by having less of the red tape involved in these types of leagues should in fact actually produce more players. And I'm going back to the original concept of the NPL, which was designed for developing players under the age of 24 and to get them into the A League. Yes, it has happened on a very small amount, but not on the scale that everybody was hoping. In fact, what FFA were hoping. So the NPL has been more of a hindrance than it has been an aid, and it hasn't done exactly what it should do. So they are looking now in terms of what the old NSL looked like and the success the NSL had. It's all right, I'm just trying to get a charger, Darren, to plug this device in because I'm going to be running out of charge soon. The old NSL, and I wasn't privy to this, but I've done a lot of research and a lot of digging around with people who've taken part in the NSL and coached and played. The amount of players that came through, and you go through even the golden generation that played there, they were 15 years of age, some of these guys, the Vidukas and all them. They played in the old, the structure when they were 15 years of age. The NPL, as we speak, doesn't allow that to happen. If we got a 15-year-old boy that's ready for senior football, which we could well have, we're not permitted to play him. So, it happens everywhere else in the world. Even last year it wasn't last year, year before, Championship, Fulham had a 15-year-old kid. Can't do it in Australia. It's all red tape. It's nonsense. So they wonder why they're struggling. It's when they come up with these ridiculous restrictions on the red tape basically stopping players from developing and pushing on. So, that's where this national second division, I think, will have a lot of success because they're going to take a little bit of the old NSL and they'll take the good bits from the NPL. Don't get me wrong. The NPL has got some very, very good bits. The issue with the NPL is the state federations keep messing with it. In particular, our state federation keep messing with the structure. So if you keep messing with something, how's it ever going to come to fruition? So they keep saying every 2 years, it's not working, we'll change it. The reason why it's not working is you keep changing it. Crazy.
The big criticism that everyone says about the championship is the dollars, the finances. How's that going to work?
Are you there?
Yes, you've plugged it in now.
I plugged it in just before it went off. Bloody hell. Ironically, it went off when you were talking about money.
Yep, didn't pay your bill.
Yeah, bloody hell. It was an electric bill. Listen, no, the finance side of it, again, with the capabilities and the governance and all that, the clubs will have to justify and be able to demonstrate dollar value, how they can actually fund it before they will be admitted into the league. So I'm going to throw a figure out there, and don't, people listening and watching, don't take this as read, but $1.5 million. So that's a figure you would go, and I'm just plucking a figure out there. Clubs will go, okay, or the organisation goes 1.5 million. If you can justify and demonstrate that you got 1.5 million to make it work over the course of the season, or 4.5 million over 3 seasons, then we'll admit you into the league. It's not a licensing fee. It's actually a demonstration of financial commitment and viability. So what they don't want is what's happened in other leagues and organisations where they admit clubs and they're not financially viable. So there's got to be some sort of, not there got to be, there will be some financial viability and in a conference or play nationally or do both.
The immediate question is, how many clubs are going to be able to come up with $1.5 million?
Well, that was the figure I came out with. It wasn't, but 16 clubs nationally. If they're going to do a national, there'll be 16 clubs nationally that will be able to do it comfortably. So conference-wise, it will obviously be a lot cheaper. So